What is up, guys? Welcome back to I Am Outraged. Man, what a week it is. A lot of you guys have told me that you did not get into the Scott Fish Bowl, and for that, I am very sorry. I would love to see everybody in the Scott Fish Bowl because annually, it's one of the more difficult formats in addition to the fact that it does a big thing for the community. Scott Fish has created something from the ground up. The benefits of it certainly translate well into the future. They've done a lot of things, charitable contributions. You see lots of stuff during Christmas, fantasycares.net. So big things coming from Scott Fish, and I'm glad to continuously get an invite, even though I'm probably the last guy to sign in to the Scott Fish Bowl. I always get an email. I don't even know if it's from him or it's automated, but essentially, of course, right in the middle of this, I've got my dog going ham, so this is perfect. This is the best start to a podcast I've ever had, but I'm going to try to stay on track. As you guys can hear and see, all my stuff is off the walls. We're in the process of still showing our home, so I have to do these sped up podcasts right now because we have people that want to come in and see the home. They want to come in and see what's going on inside because they may or may not want to make a purchase. And under these new conditions with the COVID-19, if you will, the way that it works is real estate agents essentially text message my wife, whose number is available on their website, and they say, hey, can we schedule a visit? And we don't know when it is. We don't know how far out it's going to be. So they constantly just pop up. We started the morning today, which is Monday, with no scheduled visits, and by 10 o'clock, now we have 3 of them. We had one today at 3 o'clock. We have one coming up here at 6 p.m. We have one at 7 p.m. So constantly a revolving door of people and their germs entering my home. May God have mercy on my soul and the soul of my family. We will find out soon. Back to the Scott Fish Bowl. Point is, Scott Fish Bowl is a great thing. And I'm drafting in the 9 spot. And I've done a little bit of research on it. I thought to myself, Nate, look, I'm just going to show up and I'm going to do my very best. And I feel like I have. I've been addicted to drafting this one particular player. If you guys are in one of the I'm Outraged Dynasty Leagues with me, you may or may not have seen me select him with one of my first picks. I've done it a couple of times. And again, if you are not in a league yet, let me know. DM me personally on Patreon. I will help get you into a league. There is a post. I'm probably going to make it a sticky post or pin it, if you will, so people can go back and find it. But essentially, I made a post that says League Number 6 and Beyond. In it is a Google sign-up sheet. You can get on the list. I'm trying to put together another league. I think right now we might have 5 or 6 or 7 people ready to go. So, of course, per usual, when we get about 14 people, we'll be ready to roll. So I'd say we're about halfway there now, which is pretty exciting to have 7 leagues of people who are playing in a league for the first time. Now, we just started our first I'm Outraged rerun league, and Christian's running that thing and doing a great job. That thing's off the ground. I've seen the way that the draft is going. It went quarterback heavy, which is a nightmare if you're unprepared. I've had a couple of leagues where I tried to wait on quarterback, and you guys just steamrolled all the available options. In one of the leagues, my only option was Dwayne Haskins, and I'm still to this day sick to my stomach about it. So I really hope that Dwayne Haskins turns it around this year. I don't have a lot of hope for him. But anyways, in the Scott Fish Bowl, the way that it's devised this year, there's a lot of efficiency metrics on quarterbacks. You get minus points for sacks, minus points for interceptions, of course. But I had to sort of stick to my guns in this draft, and I started it out with 2 players in particular, and I've been picking them in almost all the startups of these dynasty leagues. So I feel good about that because they're efficient players. They're big-time scorers. They do all these different things on the field, and they give me a ton of value, and that's why I've continued to draft them, whether it's a dynasty startup, whether it's a Scott Fish Bowl, whether it's a redraft league. It doesn't matter. So before I tell you who these 2 players are, I have to address one thing that I saw happen this week. And I know I'm all over the map right now. That's because I'm running scared right now, guys. This is what real fear looks like. because I know I have people coming to see my home very soon, and I would prefer to not be podcasting while they're walking through my house. I mean, imagine that. They're coming through with their real estate agent. They assume the home is empty, and here I am just shooting the shit with you guys, talking about Nick Chubb and other players, and they're like, what's in this room? And they just pop the door open, and here I am. I got this light up here that's beaming down on me. I've got nothing on the walls. I mean, this would be very interesting. You wouldn't know what it was I was doing in here, but I'd invite him in. I'd ask him for a hot take. You know, is A.J. Dillon going to surpass Aaron Jones this year? That's the question, because I've got my own bone to pick with Aaron Jones, other than the fact that I think that A.J. Dillon is a good player, and I have drafted him everywhere. Let me tell you something, guys. For those of you that have kids and have been through the process of being at the hospital during labor, during the delivery, been in the room, or for those of you that aren't quite there yet, or for those of you that are practicing, depending on where you are in your timeline, let me just tell you for a fact that 99.9999999999999% of women are not going to let you bring a PS4 to the hospital and play it while they're waiting to go into labor. Now, listen, Aaron Jones had a great year last year. Aaron Jones is probably one of the few people in the world that could get away with this. When you finish as the number 3 running back overall in fantasy football, you can call your shots. And clearly that's what he did. Either that or he has the greatest girlfriend, I never looked, in the history of the universe. Because if I was to bring a PS4 to the hospital while my wife was in labor, the riot that would ensue would be so chaotic. I would have to pull a fire alarm to cool the situation down. That would be my only option at that point. I would have to grab a bed sheet and twirl it up and start whipping back like a hungry lion was coming at me at that point if I brought a PS4 into the hospital during labor. Let me tell you, from my own experience as a man who had never been around the birth of a child, I had no idea what to expect. But I sure as hell wasn't going to be playing my PS4 at the point in time when she starts going into labor, and I'm like, no, babe, hold on. I'm in the third quarter. This game's real tight right now. I'm playing this guy online. I don't want to screw up my record. Yeah, hold on. I'll be there in a minute. Isn't your mom here? Why don't you have your mom come in? What? There's no way in hell I would ever be able to pull this off, but it's Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones, baby. He had a monster year last year. And clearly, when you have a monster year in fantasy football or regular football, you can do these things. And the suspected rumors that Aaron Jones will get a contract, I don't know if that's true. I'm curious why they drafted A.J. Dillon as highly as they did when he is a monster after contact. Everybody knows this. Don't let the masses fool you. I like A.J. Dillon. I've been selecting him everywhere. But the point is, there's no way in any vector, universe, quadrant, there's no location in the known galaxy where I could be in the hospital room while my wife is going into labor or pre-going into labor and be on a PS4. I couldn't even sneak in a fucking game on my iWatch. I couldn't even slowly pull it up and just ping, like a game of Pong maybe. Just anything, the most minimalist game you've ever seen on your wrist. You know, it's just off. I'm looking at it out of the corner of my eye, just playing a game. She'd be like, what the are you doing right now? What in the world? I'm about to have a baby over here. And you're playing Candy Crush on your iWatch? There's no way. There's no way, Aaron Jones. You're setting the bar too high or too low or too far to the side. I don't know what it is. That bar is nowhere near me. I can't get into that bar. I'm not old enough to get into that bar. I got ID'd at the door and they said, get the fuck out of here. You can't get into that place. Aaron Jones. Unbelievable. Listen, guys, it's likely not going to work out in your favor, but admittedly, when your wife is packing her bag for the overnight stay that it will be, maybe just try to sneak the Switch in there. Just, hey, what about the Nintendo Switch? And just see if Dikembe Mutombo's like, what the, just bats it like out of the way. And if she permits it, take it with you. But in all likelihood, she's going to grab that thing and break it over her knee like Lex Luger in the torture rack. That's for the old guys. Listen, Scott Fishbowl, it brought me to an epiphany, if you will. I have been embattled. I've found that in a lot of these I'm Outraged leagues, I'm struggling at the quarterback position. For whatever reason, Sleeper has decided that Nate List picks at 113. Today, tomorrow, and forever. That's when I pick. I already know it. Even before somebody hits randomize on the draft order, that's where I'm picking. I already know it. I know it in advance. So I'm prepared. And typically, I don't get my quarterback in the second round. Now, this guy's been there for me before. Not always. But when he does fall there, I have to take him. Now, you heard me mention Nick Chubb. Now, Nick Chubb is the guy that I got with my second pick in the most recent Scott Fishbowl. But my first pick, I had absolutely no choice but to go with the guy that I have been swooning over silently, if you will, for quite some time, and that is Dak mother-loving Prescott. Dak Prescott is a shining star in the NFL right now, and he gets the level of respect, notoriety, and advertisement that Russell Wilson does. Look, Russell Wilson is known as one of the best quarterbacks in the league and one of the best quarterbacks in the last 10 years that's entered the league, but he doesn't always get treated that way, and he certainly isn't spoken of that way outside of the metrics fantasy community. But Dak Prescott, even a little quieter, because Dak Prescott doesn't necessarily have the long-term efficiency production that Russell Wilson has validated over all these years. But look, Russell Wilson's 31. That's still plenty young at the quarterback position. Plenty young to make him a top 6 dynasty quarterback in fantasy football. There's no question about it. But Dak Prescott necessarily has to be ranked higher than Russell Wilson. And that's not a slight at Wilson. It's just the fact that, A, Dak Prescott is 4 years younger. That's a big factor. Dak Prescott last year had a blowout season. In 2019, he finished as the QB2 overall in fantasy football. So he blew up. This was his chance to shine, and he did it. And look what goes down today. It's Monday. You know what today is. Today is the day that Patrick Mahomes signed a 10-year, $450 million deal. Hello, Deshaun Watson. Hello, Dak Prescott. What do you think this necessarily means for them? If I'm Dak Prescott, I was holding out in hopes that this deal was going to get done prior to my deal. Now, just to clarify so everybody knows the legal period of time here, the Dallas Cowboys have until Wednesday, July 15th to negotiate a long-term deal with Dak Prescott before the season begins. So that's their window to get this done. Otherwise, he's getting franchised this year. They have to sign Dak Prescott. I mean, it's no question. We can go down the list of why the Cowboys need to spend the money, find the money, make the moves to sign Dak Prescott, and why Dak Prescott is a phenomenal dynasty asset. I mean, this isn't a question. I know many of us agree, but I've seen drafts where Joe Burrow's gone ahead of Dak Prescott. I've seen a few drafts where Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott are going neck and neck, and it shocks me because one of the big fundamental differences between Carson Wentz and Dak Prescott is that in the 4 years that Dak Prescott has been in the NFL, he hasn't missed a game. Dak Prescott has played 16 games every year for 4 straight seasons. Dak is not missing games. So that's number one. So if you're Jerry Jones, if you're the Dallas Cowboys, number one, your quarterback is not getting hurt. He's there game in, game out, every day, doing his thing, not getting hurt. And that's a big deal. Big knock on Matt Stafford in the beginning. It's the reason why we love Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson brings a similar rushing floor, but he never gets hurt. He's never missed a game. It's incredible. You would think that that would be like an improbable statistic, especially at the quarterback position, especially for a guy like Russell Wilson who has absolutely no O-line. It's not the case for Dak Prescott, though. We all know Dak Prescott has a very good offensive line. But let's talk about why Dak Prescott is so valuable. Now, I don't disagree with any of these dynasty rankings. You can have Patrick Mahomes at 1. You can have Lamar Jackson at 2. Then at that point, we're talking about Kyler Murray right there at 3. He's also hyper young. He's one of the youngest amongst his group, 22 and a half years old. Then Deshaun Watson's in the mix and Dak Prescott. Now, here's the thing. I love Deshaun Watson, but I actually would still rank Dak Prescott over Deshaun Watson, even though the difference between these two is 2 years. That's irrelevant to me. 2 years at the quarterback position when we're talking about age 25, 26, 27, that's irrelevant to me. Most of your dynasty leagues aren't going to be here in 10 years anyways when these guys are 35, 36, Aaron Rodgers' age. Think about Aaron Rodgers right now. Aaron Rodgers is still a sought-after quarterback. He may be older at this point, but many of you guys would gladly start Aaron Rodgers, and he's probably going to have a better year than a multitude of guys that are far younger than he is. So your league won't be here in 10 years, or most of them won't be here in 10 years. So that's number one. So when you're looking at these players, a lot of times I like to use the 3 to 5 year window. I think that's a fair assessment. I think that's the right way to do it. I figure, okay, if I'm going to have this guy for 3 to 5 years, is it worth it? Well, look, Dak Prescott and Deshaun Watson in 3 to 5 years are going to be 29 and 31. They're going to be Russell Wilson's age currently or younger. That's a win. Dak Prescott, however, brings an incredible rushing floor. Now, we know that Deshaun Watson's rushing floor is also incredible in its own right when you look at him versus Dak Prescott over the course of their career. But the difference is that Dak is throwing the ball far more than he is. So the difference is maybe 30 rush attempts from Dak to Deshaun, but the pass attempts in 2019, it was over 100 attempt difference. So it's a massive difference. But when you look at Dak's rushing floor, again, not the biggest rushing floor of all quarterbacks, but when you look at Dak's rushing floor, which 52 carries in 2019 was number 11 at the position, over the course of his career, his rushing yards and touchdowns have equated to an average of 3.8 extra fantasy points per game on top of his fantasy production. 3.8 extra points per game just because he's using his legs. And last year at the position, he was number 3 in fantasy scoring at 21 points per game. So you're getting a floor with Dak Prescott as a runner, no matter what. You're getting almost 4 points a game just by him using his legs. And again, Dak is not getting hurt. Dak is not missing games. Dak has averaged almost 6 touchdowns per season until 2019 when his passing floor went way up. Now, his rushing's been similar year to year. It was 57 attempts as a rookie, 57 as a sophomore. Then a big jump in 2018. He had 75 rush attempts, then back down to 52 here just last season. But Dak Prescott brings a rushing floor, which is impressive. But then we saw Dallas do something that we have prayed that Seattle and Pete Carroll and this offensive scheme would do. We have watched Dak Prescott year after year after year after year increase in pass attempts. As a rookie, 459. As a sophomore, 490. In his third season, 526. And just last year, 596 pass attempts for Dak Prescott, number 6 at the position. Amazing. He almost threw for 5,000 yards, 4,902 pass yards. Almost throws for 5,000 yards last year, number 2 in passing yards in the league. So we've watched him explode in opportunity. And that's what we love. So he brings the rushing floor. And now the Dallas Cowboys, even with Ezekiel Elliott, who runs the ball like crazy. I mean, he's right up there with the league leaders in rush attempts in the league. Even with that, Dak Prescott is still throwing the ball as many times as he is. I mean, Zeke had 301 rush attempts just last season. So the Dallas Cowboys are pushing the pace of play. And what do? They just add more weapons around Dak. And again, it's evidence why they would do that when you look at his averages and the incline over years. I mean, just look at the pass attempts on average. As a rookie, 28.7 pass attempts per game. 28.7. Just this year, which is 4 years later, 37.3 pass attempts per game for Dak Prescott. Some of it is game script, of course. Some of it is the fact that Dak Prescott is just a hyper-accurate quarterback in an offense with a lot of weapons. In an offense with Gallup, and has Cobb and Amari Cooper and all these other weapons around. I mean, they layered players around Dak and they let him throw the ball. And what did he do? He exceeded expectations. I mean, it's not a question. You can just look at the touchdown rate. So as a rookie in 2016, Dak Prescott had a 5.0 touchdown percentage. So touchdowns of the total pass attempts. He maintains the 5.0 touchdown percentage, but throws 30 touchdowns in 2019 and just 11 interceptions. So we're ratcheting up the pass attempts. And proportionally, here go the touchdowns. But what's happening with the interceptions? The interceptions really didn't flinch much because we can go back, and even after Dak Prescott from his rookie year to the current season in 2019, he rose 10 pass attempts per game. 10 pass attempts per game. And here's what happened to his interception percentage. We saw it at 0.9% as a rookie on 459 pass attempts. And then it jumps, air quotes, to a 1.8% in 2019 on 596 pass attempts, which was number 6 in the league. So he's number 6 in the league in pass attempts. He's averaging 1.8% interception rate. And for perspective, Josh Allen had a 2.0 interception rate on 135 less pass attempts. So Josh Allen is wildly inaccurate. He's throwing far more interceptions, less than I think people suspected, even at a 2%. But Dak Prescott is hyper accurate. He's smart with the ball. He's proportionally throwing more touchdowns. His touchdown rate, his average, it's maintained at the peak of his career, despite the fact that he's throwing 100 more balls per year than he did as a rookie. And then we look at the elite accuracy. His completion percentage over time, I mean, you go year by year, he was 67% as a rookie, 62% as a sophomore, then 67%, now 65%. He's got a career average of almost 66%. And a true passer rating of number 10 in the league. So we know that Dak Prescott is hyper accurate. We know that he's accurate with a clean pocket, number 12 in the league, 74%. And we know that elite accuracy can lead to great yards after the catch. Gallup was number 22. Cobb was number 19. Now Amari Cooper, admittedly number 48, not quite the yards after the catch of these other two. But we expect growth, and what do they go and do? They add CeeDee Lamb, a great yards after the catch guy, to this offense. So there's a lot to love about Dak Prescott going forward. And the fact of the matter is, he's again just slightly suppressed. He doesn't get that big hype that Kyler Murray's getting. He doesn't get that big hype that Patrick Mahomes is getting. But he also doesn't have the big contract yet either. But I believe that's coming. And I mean, think about the completion percentage and this hyper level of accuracy. Drew Brees lived most of his NFL career between the 65% to 68% completion percentage. It wasn't only till recently that Drew Brees was averaging over 70% completion percentage, which is gross. Drew Brees is a filthy animal, but he's excelled at the NFL level at an older age. And it's what makes me believe that maybe Drew Brees sticks around a little bit longer. I know I hope he does. I need Drew Brees to stay around forever. He's phenomenal what he does to that offense. I mean, honestly, Drew Brees could play till he's 45 years old for all I care. He's been a great fantasy football asset. He's been a competitor. He's been an incredible NFL-level quarterback, and he's played at the most elite level forever. And he's the best second-round pick at the quarterback position of all time, without question. You can take Drew Lock and shove him in a cannon and fire him into the fucking universe somewhere. He's not going to hit. I'm not a fan of Drew Lock, clearly. Come on, Nate, calm down. I don't want to get on a Drew Lock tangent right now. I want to continue talking about Dak. Look, you look at the Dallas Cowboys in 2019, number 2 pass blocking offense in the league. So he's got a great offensive line around him. That's why they don't need to invest heavy picks into this offensive line. We know this. But they've got players that they have to pay in the future, and that's where this crunch comes in. Run blocking line, number 2 in the league. So number 2 in pass blocking, number 2 in run blocking. So Zeke is finding great opportunity to run out of the backfield. Dak is finding ability to rush out of this backfield. And then he's getting great opportunity, time to throw out of the backfield. Deep ball completion percentage, right? He has time to throw. Dak ranked number 2 in the league, 48.7% deep ball completion percentage. That's amazing. That's amazing for a guy who now has arguably the greatest trio in the current league right now. Look, Amari Cooper is 26 years old, elite, coming off a wide receiver 10 overall season. Michael Gallup is not even 25 years old yet. And he's coming off a top 25 year where he finished as a wide receiver 2. He was the number 2 or the number 22 wide receiver overall in fantasy football. He propped up 2 guys in the top 25 with these pass attempts. And then what do? They draft CeeDee Lamb in the NFL draft. Universally, widely considered the best receiver in the entire draft class. All fantasy football analysts, we disagree on so many things. What do we agree on? We all agreed that CeeDee Lamb was the guy in this draft. There was a lot of great players in this draft class, and I think we're going to find that out in the future. We're going to find that out in 2021, 2022, when we really get the reality about what these players became. But CeeDee Lamb going to the Dallas Cowboys was one of the most cringeworthy things that happened during the NFL draft on day one. Made me want to puke. Never expected him to go there. Always thought he was going to Arizona. I could see it. I pictured it. Him and Kyler Murray put him back together. Didn't happen. He goes to Dallas. And now Dak already has the weapons that he previously had. Amari Cooper, an incredible route runner. Michael Gallup, a player who has exceeded expectations. And then they add CeeDee Lamb, another player that we expect to be an alpha. I mean, many analysts believe that CeeDee Lamb will outright become the wide receiver 1 in Dallas. And I don't think that's so shocking when you think about it, because Amari Cooper just signed a 5-year, $100 million deal. Yes, that's true. That is true. That's been stated a multitude of times as somebody picking up their shield to defend the honor of Amari Cooper as if he needs it. As if anybody needs to come to the rescue of Amari Cooper. Look, guys, calm down. We know he's elite. He's incredible. He played in some terrible situations, went to Dallas, finished as a wide receiver 10 overall. He's incredible. But the reality is that in 2021, or at the end of 2021, entering 2022, Amari Cooper only holds $6 million in dead cap space. So there is a clear out in his contract at that point in time. And I know some people are thinking, oh, that's a lot of money. $6 million in dead cap space. How are they going to be able to afford to live that way? Have you guys heard of Big Ben? When we talk about meat falling off the bone like a pot roast, Big Ben looks like a pot roast, actually. Now Big Ben looks like a human pot roast. He looks awful. And Big Ben in 2020 is going to carry $44.5 million in dead cap space. Think about that. I'm going to pull up a calculator right now. Here it is. Pull it up. Going to type 44.5 divided by 6. That's 7.4 times more dead cap space than Amari Cooper is going to hold in Dallas. So get out of here with that. Anybody who thinks that they wouldn't move on from Amari Cooper is insane. This team could thrive with just Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb. I mean, there's no reason to believe after what we've seen out of Michael Gallup that you couldn't have a wide receiver group of Michael Gallup and CeeDee Lamb and still not be as dominant as they have been. Now, Amari Cooper has been great, but Michael Gallup has gone punch for punch with him for quite some time, and Gallup's contract runs out in 2021. So what are they going to do? You could always sign Gallup for less than Amari Cooper's contract. Sign Gallup in 2022. Cut Amari Cooper. Trade Amari Cooper. There's a lot of options. A lot of teams would love to get a 27-and-a-half-year-old wide receiver who's in his physical prime. But you can re-up with a cheaper Michael Gallup. Put him next to CeeDee Lamb, who's on a 5-year contract because he was a first-round pick, and they get that 5th-year option. It makes sense. All these teams, we watch it in the NFL draft. We watch teams trade away a player or let a player go just to draft his heir apparent or draft the player that was going to save them on cap space. Look at the Minnesota Vikings. Goodbye, Stephon Diggs. Hello, Justin Jefferson. Right? I mean, these guys are replacing players one for one. We watched it happen all throughout the draft. It seemed like that was the narrative that was unspoken of but was actually taking place. Guys were being drafted and they were replacing someone. And that's how it goes. And it may be a hedge. It's the same thing with Van Jefferson and potentially Cooper Kupp. I know people want to believe that Cooper Kupp's going to stick around. I don't know if he does. A lot of these teams are cap conscious. A lot of these teams have defensive linemen they need to sign, corners they need to sign, offensive linemen they need to sign. So it's a win if you can go into the draft like the Kansas City Chiefs did, take Clyde Edwards in the first round, not pay a running back, and then give Mahomes the biggest contract we've ever seen before. That's the future for Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott will get one of the largest contracts we've seen in quite some time. I believe it 100%. Dallas knows they need to commit to him. He's young. He's proven. He's on the up and come. And I will say this. When Dak Prescott signs that 6-year deal, 7-year deal, whatever Dallas decides to do with him, his value in Dynasty will nudge up a little bit more. With that confidence, most of us believe Dak Prescott is going nowhere. He's going to be a fixture in Dallas for a very, very, very long time. But the fact that he maintains this marginal level of suppression for whatever reason, people are ignoring the fact that the pass attempts are going up. People are ignoring the fact that he has this rushing floor. People are ignoring the fact that he has arguably the best trio of wide receivers around him and a rising tight end in Jarwin. All these things around him. And people seem to be casually ignoring it. His name just doesn't come up like Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes or Deshaun Watson, who's throwing 100 less pass attempts a year and is throwing the ball to God knows who. Who is Deshaun Watson throwing the ball to? Again, I love the rushing floor. And I know people are going to point out the fact that, again, Deshaun Watson is rushing it 20, 30 more times annually than we're seeing Dak rush it. 40 more, if you will, on some given seasons. But the fact of the matter is, I would rather err on the side of a player in an elite offense with great pass blocking, with great run blocking, with an elite running back, with an incredible wide receiver trio surrounding him, and an offensive philosophy that continues to funnel it into his hands. That's why I'm drafting Dak Prescott everywhere in every single league. And if it's my turn to click the button and it's between Russell Wilson, Deshaun Watson, and Dak Prescott, you know where I'm going.